What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good overview of the data points, what they're all saying, and more specifically, what might have caused the spike today. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get right to it. So currently up 7.72%, had a lot of good strength today. And as you can see, based on the intraday chart, it did hit a high of $7.84. I already see a lot of people saying that this was a squeeze. And in reality, it wasn't. Based on all of this buying, it is fair to assume, especially the fact that, well, I'm going to share with you about shorts in a second, it is fair to assume that someone either increased their position in Lucid or potentially made a brand new position. And based on the volume, it definitely had to have been a big institution. It's not small fish doing this. This is someone potentially big, such as maybe the PIF. Vanguard, BlackRock, one of those institutions most likely did increase their position. And of course, if it was the PIF, which kind of does make sense, Lucid is at a very deep discount to what they see, and especially what they've been buying at. I believe their recent buy was at $10.56, and Lucid is a big part of their 2030 vision, so it is fair to assume that they might be increasing their position. But like I said, I want to give you a good overview of everything, and I do see a lot of people saying that this was because of a squeeze, and it's not necessarily true. So I'll give you guys a good overview of what is happening with shorts. So short score is currently 87, which in fact did go up. So that is something to kind of just watch for. Utilization is 100%. And on a side note, if you guys have any questions about any of this, let me know in the comments below. But as you can see, the short interest right now is 23.7%, and that works out to be 152 million shares being overall shorted. But today, shorts did increase 804,000 shares. So of course, not too much, but they definitely didn't squeeze. So based on everything, it definitely is still on the table. And like I've said in the past, Lucid does have everything possible to have a very good squeeze. The only thing it's always missed was that surprise catalyst, and there is some pretty good surprises coming down the pipeline that I'll share with you in a second. But cost to borrow average is 117.31%, the max being 269%. So that is very interesting as well. That could once again scare shorts into returning some shares. So I see a lot of people saying that this was a squeeze, but definitely, it could very much come. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day. But when it comes down to news per se, there was something that did come out, and that was about the gravity. And like I've said in the past, the gravity is one of the few catalysts that is going to be for 2023. So this is a very, very big deal. And it does look like they are taking steps to obviously test it. And coming from an investor standpoint, this is huge. I cannot wait to actually see this on the road, see a lot more pictures on Twitter and so forth of obviously the gravity just driving around and things like that. So definitely, I think this is a very exciting thing, and you never know, someone might have actually had some additional details behind the scenes, and that is why maybe a big institution is potentially buying. You never know. But like I said, and I still strongly do believe that they are going to announce this right before their earnings. That way, on their earnings on May the 8th, they will actually be able to kind of talk on that as well. And like I said, May the 8th is right here, so at 5:30 Eastern, so it is a little bit more of a later one after hours. I'm going to be live streaming that as well, so make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. But there is something I just also wanted to briefly touch on, the top 3 questions, and I'll go over this periodically every couple of videos or so just to give you guys a quick update. So when it comes down to, in case you guys do not know, Lucid Management does offer retail investors the opportunity to pose a question. And in the past, they typically have answered around 3. I think in the Q2 2022 earnings, they kind of felt bad for us. So I think they increased it to 5 potentially. But as you can see, the top ones are, we are almost about 2 years away from 2025. When should we expect to hear new updates about the mid-size SUV, so the 50,000 SUV? So that definitely is a very good question. And then when it comes down to the other questions, this one is as far as production. Peter is quoted in the past saying that he likes to under promise and over deliver, but based on the results, clearly hasn't been like that. So I think that is a good question. But of course, you guys know I like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when it comes down to this and difficult questions, Peter doesn't necessarily always answer it straightforward. So this is a very good question, but whether he will answer it without just kind of diverting to the whole tech topic, I don't know, we'll find out. And then the third question is, given the current lower than expected demand for the Lucid Air, are there any new plans to improve Lucid Motors' marketing strategy and brand awareness? And I think this one is a big one, and most likely even without this question being asked, I do feel that they are going to be changing it, because for those of you that have actually looked on Lucid's website, it's changed. So clearly behind the scenes, someone is trying to rejuvenate that. Unfortunately, I have not really been a big fan of Jeff Curry in the past, but it does appear that he has since left the company, and he was the whole PR marketing individual. So again, I think it's good that he is out, but definitely a very good question to see exactly what their plans are about that. And then as far as this one, would you consider launching the Gravity with more price accessible trims? And again, I think that's another very good thing, because even though this is a very exciting catalyst, potentially the unveiling of the Gravity, if it comes in at, for instance, 160,000, then definitely might not be as popular as what they assume, potentially, of course. But when it comes down to it, like I said, that is some of the things that's behind the scenes. As far as SEC filings, there's only one that was submitted, and it's just more of a summary based on the shareholder meeting on which everything was approved. So when it comes down to it, though, I'll just give you guys a quick overview of the rest of the data points, one of which is options activity. So during this time frame, you see a huge amount of call options being purchased, and puts, of course, but there was $3.34 million worth of calls today. So that definitely is very high. But on the put side, there was 2.2 million. So definitely there's a lot of options activity today. And I think in reality, a lot of FOMO might be kicking in potentially around their earnings, especially I think, like I said, when it comes down to the Gravity, it kind of just rejuvenated investors, because up until that point, people were just following the broader market, and unfortunately it was just continuing to trend down. So with that Gravity news, it kind of just gave investors a little bit more additional hope. But of course, that's just my own thoughts. On my last video as well, I did touch on some of the technical points, because on the actual chart, it is below a lot of the pivotal moving averages. Today, it did transition to the higher percentile one briefly, but not enough to actually stay there. So you do have to look at a lot of the fib levels. So currently $7.23. It is currently trading between the S2 and the S1. So points to watch for is $6.89 and vice versa. 736 is the next big resistance. So I do actually see the momentum continuing in the next couple of days, and that in reality could definitely give it a nice boost above the 736 range. And from there, you never know, right? It can go to 813 and then there 890 and so forth, and it'll just be a beautiful domino effect. But based on this, like I said, I think in reality, this is a very good sign that big money is buying Lucid behind the scenes. And when it comes down to it, like I've said in the past, with a good piece of news or any good piece of news, this could definitely have a very big run, because looking at stochastic, it is currently at 8, which is considered very much oversold. You do have a nice start of a deviation, so black line above the red showing a bullish sentiment. Number of retail investors clearly love the hype today and are getting in. So that's a good summary of basically what is happening with Lucid behind the scenes. So of course, you guys make sure you guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day, but I know a lot of retail investors do like to follow what big money is doing, and based on this, they are very much buying. And it is a little bit more of a flawed thing, because a lot of these big institutions that are in, for instance, Lucid, typically they buy and then 2 weeks later they announce it. And what they typically do is they announce it through actual ratings. So what happens is, for instance, Citibank, or you never know, Morgan Stanley, so Adam Jonas might actually be buying Lucid behind the scenes, and then later, a couple of weeks later, they will readjust their ratings to positively reflect obviously what they recently bought. It's a little bit more manipulation behind the scenes, but this is Wall Street and that's how it is, unfortunately. But like I said, if you are one of those retail investors that likes to follow big money, they are very much buying through that and options. So once again, let me know you guys' thoughts on Lucid in the comments below. Give yourself a shout out if you have been buying, selling, holding, what you have been doing. Give yourself a shout out in the comments. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo with Moomoo. It is a free deal. So all you have to do, open up a free account and you get one free stock. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So just take advantage of that. You might as well. Link in the description below and also the comments. And plus, Moomoo does offer $0 commission, free level 2 trading as well. So kind of a win-win. Let me know you guys' thoughts on all this in the comments below. And without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.